Chef Dan Barber asked, "Isn't our life an attempt to fill one void after another?" This void, whether it's losing fat, gaining money, finding a meaningful relationship, whatever they are, these voids are actually goals. Trouble is, most people don't even know how to actually set goals properly, and that's what we're going to uncover in this video. Welcome to Get It Together, and if you're new here, this channel is just me trying to figure out how to get my life together and sharing the tips and lessons I learned along the way. And as I wrapped up the last series of videos on both the ketogenic diet combined with intermittent fasting, I announced that the next series of videos was going to be my attempt at learning about and implementing elements of minimalism into my life. But instead, I decided to do a very short mini-series first. This mini-series actually, to me, is literally the most important series of videos that I'm probably ever going to make, because it forms a foundation for all of the videos, past, present, and future in this channel. This and the next few videos is all about how to set and actually achieve your goals, whatever they might be. I mean, we all have goals, both big and small. And since this entire channel is all about me trying to figure out life by setting goals and trying to achieve them, knowing how to set goals properly is tremendously important, and yet it's something that none of us were ever really taught how to do. As usual, this video has 3 sections, and coincidentally, there are 3 components to a real, actual goal. And so each section corresponds with one of those components. Section and component 1 is that every single goal must have a clear reason and desire. Section 2 and component 2 of a goal is that every single goal must have quantitative metrics and a clear deadline. And section 3 is that every goal must be supported by the 3 pillars of achieving goals. So let's dive into section 1, which is that every single goal must have a clear desire and reason. In other words, you have to truly want or need it and clearly know why it is that you want or need it. For example, pizza is bar none my favorite food. I mean, look, I have pizza shoes. It's ridiculous. And I've always wanted to know how to make proper pizza homemade from scratch. But because of both how available and how affordable pizza is in general, not to mention I'm doing keto now, but that's a whole other story, it's just not a pressing enough matter. There's not a strong enough desire or need. Now, I said it has to be either a strong enough want or a need. So for example, even if you have like a work project that you might not particularly want to do, succeeding in that project might be an actual need for you to keep your livelihood. And so the requirement itself is compelling enough to warrant a goal to be set. Again, the first component of a goal is that there has to be a very clear desire or need, as well as a very clear reason. In other words, I want to achieve this because of this. And that right there is the end of section 1, and let's move on to section 2, as well as component 2 of a real and proper goal. Component 2 of a goal is that there has to be very clear quantitative metrics of success, as well as a defined timeline. You have to have numerical metrics to know whether or not you're even hitting your goal in the first place, as well as a deadline, otherwise it'll be far too easy to just put off for later. As Tim Ferriss wrote, the word someday is the disease that'll take your dreams to the grave with you. So just to drive home the point, let's give a few examples. I want to lose fat is not a goal. I want to lose fat because I don't want to be clinically obese anymore is still not a goal. I want to lose 5% body fat because that's when I won't be clinically obese anymore is better, but it's still not a goal. I want to lose 5% body fat in 6 months because that's when I won't be clinically obese anymore. Now that's a goal. P.S. I actually was clinically obese just 3.5 months ago, sitting at 27.1% body fat on January 5th. I made it to below 25% body fat, which is the cutoff for being clinically obese for a man, in about 5 weeks. So shameless back pat for me. But if you're interested, I've linked the entire playlist for both keto and IF, so feel free to check that entire playlist out. To just use one more example, I want to save $1 million is not a goal. There's not a reason and there's not a deadline. To make a proper goal out of that should be, I want to save $1 million inside of 10 years so that I can retire early and travel the world. That is a fully fleshed out goal. Now, just a quick detour in that some goals seem like they're impossible to have quantitative metrics. For example, I want to be happy, because it seems like it's impossible to actually quantify happiness. Now, you could be on the lazier side and say something like, I want to consistently be able to rank 7 in my own personal scale of 1 to 10 of happiness inside of 6 months. That's kind of quantifying things, but because it's not objectively measurable, and even your own sliding scale from 1 to 10 could change day to day, it's just not a very effective quantifiable metric. Instead, with this specific happiness goal, it'll actually serve you a lot better if you first identify very clearly what makes you happy in the first place, because that'll be a lot easier to quantify. So, for example, once you go through the happiness identification process, your goal might end up sounding something like, I'm happiest when I have a coffee with a good friend once a week, am able to watch an hour of TV before bed every night, and can go to the mall and buy a new piece of clothing once a month. So my goal is to be able to create the conditions to be able to do all of those things inside of 6 months, and I'll know I'll be consistently happy. Now your goal has 3 independent quantifiable metrics, and that's totally okay. Metric 1, an hour of TV a night. Metric 2, a coffee date with a good friend once a week. And metric 3, going shopping once a month. And they all sit inside of that deadline of 6 months. Now let's move on to section 3, which is that every goal must be supported by PIS. So I have the maturity of a 5-year-old. PIS. These are the 3 pillars of achieving your goals. PIS stands for process, incentive, and system. I'm not going to get into it now because, spoiler alert, each of these 3 pillars deserve their own video. But what I'd love is to know what some of your goals are. So if you have a goal, no matter how big or how small, let me know in the comments below. And remember, a properly set goal should sound something like this. I want to achieve this, because this, by hitting this metric, by this date. If you got value out of this video, be sure to hit like and subscribe. If you have any questions or want to debate anything, hit up the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.